It's another edition of Fourth and 40, the ultimate football show. Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio, joining me as always, week in and week out. Hey man, football is back, and it was back with a vengeance on Thursday night because the Kansas City Chiefs, your Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, took on the Houston Texans, who I think some people had some really high hopes for after the DeAndre Hopkins trade. They looked just as bad as they have.
It was you, Rudy. You were talking up this receiving core. I did.
Well, no, I didn't talk up the receiving core. I talked up the fact that Deshaun Watson, which Chris Collinsworth made the same point that I was making. You don't focus on DeAndre Hopkins anymore, and that is going to make him a better NFL quarterback because they're not force-feeding Hopkins.
It didn't look like it.
No, I mean, and okay, but it didn't look like it, but we didn't have any preseason games at all either. So this is kind of like, I think the first couple of weeks we're going to see, some struggles and stuff like that just because there was no preseason. There was no way to work out the kinks. I've been an advocate for no preseason. I don't like the preseason, but you still got to get some kind of, reps in somewhere.
Well, Andy Reid looked like a machine though, Rudy. I mean, he looked like, some of those plays that they ran on Thursday, and I'm just watching, just as someone who played football in other sports, just sitting there, and some of the creation of these plays, I'm just memorized, like, why does no one else do what Andy Reid does offensively? Just so creative and just kind of just genius. And
I jumped on the Prophets podcast. Not to catch up, I jumped on the Prophets podcast and talked a little bit. Is the thing behind Andy Reid? Is it really Andy Reid on the offense, or is it more Eric Bieniemy?
Well, it's both. I think. Andy Reid's offenses have always been pretty good. I think they've changed over the years. When he was with the Eagles and Donovan, early on, it was more traditional style, though Donovan was a beast. He can move the pocket, right? So very mobile. But as he got a little bit older with the Eagles, you start to see some of that creativity. And then Kansas City, when he got there, he really kind of put some, like, his stamp. It just felt like it was different. And even with Alex Smith there were some games, and traditionally early on in the year, he throws a lot of different looks. And some of the bad things about towards the other years have been that Andy Reid's offense seems to slow down at the end of the season and kind of people catch up. But I think overall, just in general, the creativity, and normally at the beginning of the season, you just see a ton of different things in Andy. But no, listen, Bellamy's there. I've been pushing for this guy to get a job. For some reason, he's not getting a job for whatever the case may be. But Eric is definitely another reason why, because you have another kind of offensive mind in the building, and you put those two together, it's like a brain trust, like they just, and Rudy, it was 31-7. Let's put that in perspective. Before Deshaun scored those two, junk time touchdown, it was 31-7. They put their foot off the pedal there, and the Texans, to me, Rudy, they have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Listen, it's time to fire this guy. You've already seen it. You've already seen it. You need to fire him. You need someone to jumpstart this team. The team looks unrecognizable and also just didn't seem very interested in that game. And listen, I know you're playing the Chiefs, and they throw a lot at you. And Edwards-Helaire was a beast. But the Chiefs, to me, Rudy, barring any injuries, I think they're going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, I definitely have the Chiefs going all the way. The only team that I remember us talking about that could potentially stop them, that I like the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. If that defense is as stout as we're seeing that it is, I clearly see Pittsburgh giving Kansas City a run for their money when it comes to representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. But barring, injury or anything, Kansas City's got to be that number one team going into the season.
For sure.
And they showed it, they showed it Thursday night. I understand it's a bad Texans team. There is some good on the Texans sidelines.
And
David Johnson.
He did look good. He
looked good.
Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. Though playing the Chiefs, teams who play the Chiefs, you're going to get these games. I think the Texans are better than that, Rudy. Obviously, they're going to be a playoff team probably this season. So I think it's tough to gauge because Kansas City is going to blow out some pretty good teams. So Deshaun is good. The offense looked interesting. They ran more. You didn't see the shots down the field. It was raining a little bit, so maybe that had to do something with it. But the Chiefs ran the ball. I mean, they ran just down their throat. And Rudy, with Edwards-Helaire running like this, it's going to be a long season for the AFC West.
Exactly. And that's somebody that, we talked a lot about in fantasy, in our fantasy podcast.
It's interesting, Rudy. I didn't get any shares of him. It's interesting. The picks where I was at, he always just seemed to be gone. Because
you didn't want to draft him too high. You didn't want to draft,
exactly
too low.
It was a tough break because I always had in these drafts, which is kind of interesting. I had the 5th or 6th. I loved him. I love Josh Jacobs just a little bit more.
Yeah. I wonder if that's going to come back and bite you because I did the same thing.
Josh Jacobs drove Rudy. I just feel like, and we can get this in our fantasy show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the receiving core right now, they got some young guns. I think Josh Jacobs is going to catch a ton of balls in this offense, and he's a workhorse. There's no one there. And Darrell Henderson ran the ball pretty well for the Chiefs as well. But, I mean, listen, Helaire probably he's so fast, and he can just break away speed. So it's tough to gauge, but I'm a Josh Jacobs guy, and I've been that way for the past going on 2 years now.
So seeing what we saw on Thursday, because being that was the first game of the NFL season, seeing CEH actually run the ball really well, making this Kansas City team even more dynamic, like they needed to be more dynamic to begin with. Does this put Damian Williams' job in jeopardy?
Oh, really? Who?
Exactly.
No one's thinking about Damian Williams. No one's thinking about him.
I totally get why he sat out the season.
Oh, yeah, I completely understand. But no, it's Edwards-Helaire, Rudy. And the interesting about it is he's so low to the ground, right? It's hard to see him because you're hiding behind these big offensive line. And by the way, their acquisition of Assembly, that offensive lineman, this dude is just bruising people inside, just creating big holes. The offensive line was more finesse last season, but adding Assembly there kind of gives them a little bit of a punch, a little bit of a kick, and they look a little physical. And if they're going to run like that, and you got to worry about Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. Talk about a Sammy Watkins sighting on Thursday night, Rudy. He turned back. If he plays like that, if that Sammy Watkins is there every week,
it's a deadly team. But Sammy Watkins is not like that. He's not going to be that way every single week. He played
his best game last year. I think it was the first game.
It was week 1. He had
week 1. And it's interesting. I don't know if maybe Andy Reid's going to try to feature him a little bit more because I think he's a huge asset. Because you got Robinson there who dropped, by the way, 2 touchdowns. If you started Robinson for whatever hell reason, he dropped 2 touchdowns on Thursday. And Mecole Hardman was really those receivers really are such a hit or miss. That's why you normally just start Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce because Mecole Hardman and Robinson and now Sammy, if he pulls together a few weeks like that, he could be a borderline probably wide receiver, 3 in fantasy, Rudy? Because
I would say if you
I've seen he's been undrafted. I mean he's been undrafted in leagues I've seen.
Well, because he's only a 1-week wonder. I mean, that's pretty much his entire career. And even at that, if it wasn't a 1-week wonder, he was a no-show for the entire season.
But if he's healthy, though, Rudy, and he's playing like this the entire season, it's hard for me to see a team.
Do we see 16-0 easily?
No. Some team, the Chargers, some team in the AFC West will probably get them. It's probably the Chargers. With Joey Bosa in that defense. But 16-0 already, it's hard, man. It's hard to go 16-0, in my opinion. Because there's so many random plays that happen in football. And for you to weather the storm and go 16-0, and Rudy, that just ratchets up the pressure in the playoffs. So much pressure if you go one. I think Andy Reid will be the first to tell you, no, I don't think we need to go 16-0.
No, I really do see Kansas City finishing at that 14-2 mark, 13-3.
Yeah.
I mean, 15-1 and 16-0. It's not outside of the realm. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, especially because the Chiefs brought everybody back. I mean, there's, you lose a Damian Williams, but you gained a CEH, a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I mean,
I think a team
similar to like Kareem Hunt when
he was outstanding. He's quick. Kind of reminds me, not so much Emmitt Smith, but just Emmitt was pretty short as well, and I pegged
him as a Doug Martin right now. How Doug used to get the ball.
Doug Martin
was really you would lose him in the crowd.
Was pretty so, but Jones pretty thick.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, a guy. Andy Reid made sure to feature him. Will we see this with Cam Akers and his first game with the Rams? Probably not. But nonetheless, Edwards-Helaire, he is the truth. And I figured he would be. Unfortunately, I just didn't get any shares of him, but it just didn't work out that way. But nonetheless, listen, the Chiefs are the real deal, Super Bowl contenders. The only team, Rudy, that I see is a physical football team. We're talking Steelers running the football. The Tennessee Titans now get Clowney on defense, right? So you get a pass rusher. I think the Titans running the football. I just don't see a finesse team like the Ravens. They could, but we got to see that next step of Lamar Jackson. I think it's crucial that he takes that.
And I think he takes it this season too. I think he'll be fine. You're listening to 4th and 40, Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio. We will be right back. Listen to Carolina Teague and Rudy Campos Jr. every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. on the Sports Dime from the Carrasco Realty Group Studios in San Antonio, Texas on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. If you'd like to be a sponsor of Sweep the League, 4th and 40, and the Fantasy Countdown, contact me, Rudy Campos Jr. My email is rcamposjr@icloud.com. Welcome back to 4th and 40. Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio, the man behind the glass, Chris Galler, as always. Just get done previewing, talking about the Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs game that kicked off the NFL season we've all been waiting for.
Yep.
Chiefs got the better of the Texans, 34-20. It actually wasn't as close as the score actually shows it. But nonetheless, Patrick Mahomes, 211 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Deshaun Watson did have more passing yards, but he did have 1 interception. He even got it on the ground, got a touchdown on the ground, touchdown in the air. Like we were talking about, David Johnson looked really good. CH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked fantastic. The one stat that I want to get to beyond this game before we move on and start doing our selections for the NFL games coming up today, actually. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, no catches out of the backfield. That to me is an alarming thing, and not in a bad way, in a good way, because you have yet to see him be featured as that catching running back. And Andy Reid.
Oh, yeah, no,
LaShawn McCoy, all these other guys he's had, he's going to feature that running back coming out.
Oh, for sure, Rudy. He's going to get his due in the backfield. It wasn't needed. Darrell Williams, I believe, caught some passes out of the backfield.
He did.
And
2 receptions.
Darrell Williams is a guy, listen, if Edwards-Helaire goes down, please have Darrell Williams as a stasher. Don't worry, because you're not going to start him. As a stasher, you never know. Anything happens. Because Darrell Williams also looked pretty good last night as well. Didn't obviously get as much carries, but he looked very good. But Edwards-Helaire, it's scary. The Chiefs, historically...
It's scary that they didn't use him to his full potential.
Yeah.
In that game.
They didn't need to, because it almost felt like Romeo Crennel was still the defensive coordinator out there, because they looked a little lost, and I get it. They haven't had any road games. Plus, you got 2 coordinators, right? 2 new guys. Rudy, call me crazy. I'm just not sold on the head coach. I'm just not sold. I think they've already hit their peak with him. He's also the freaking general manager. That's another problem as well. Because doing 2 things, as someone who saw Jeff Fisher do it, and he got fired, and it's tough. But nonetheless, they need, to me, just a new coach, Rudy. And I thought they had the opportunity last season. Imagine an Eric Bellamy, in this system of an offensive player. Just change it up, because they probably will make the playoffs again, but I'm sure he'll make a bonehead decision.
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. This is a year that I feel like this is. I mean, I was talking about Dan Quinn, who actually we're going to get into right now with this our first preview game with Seattle, Atlanta. But with Bill O'Brien, I was asked, is Dan Quinn on the hot seat? I'm like, you know what? The same goes for Bill O'Brien on this. It's not even a hot seat anymore. They're sitting in lava. There's no reason why these guys should still be coaching their teams at all. At all. I mean, Bill O'Brien, I have no he must have something on, the owners or somebody to have his job still. I mean, he's got the talent. He's had the talent all around, and you can't get it done. Same thing for Dan Quinn. But again, with Bill O'Brien, how can you not get this done?
Yeah, Rudy, I think O'Brien, he's been there. He's had success. Yeah, he's had some injuries with some players, unfortunately. Will Fuller has been in and out of the lineup. Clowney's gone. There's been some in and out guys, but nonetheless, you've had these guys there and just haven't gotten the job done. And if I'm the Texans organization, if you got your quarterback, Deshaun Watson, which signed that beautiful 4-year deal last week, I believe, get yourself a coach who can coach him up. You don't want to waste his years. He still has a ton of years left, but Bill O'Brien, I don't believe he'll be the coach next season. And if he is, it's going to be the same thing. This team is a good team, but to get to where you're supposed to get to, you got to get a different coach, change things up, shake some things up, man, change some stuff. They did bring in some new coordinators, but the head coach is still there, and that's, to me, the issue.
Exactly. And they did make some moves. They traded, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the game right now. So I get that you're trying to make moves. You probably don't want to pay him as much as you're going to pay a bunch of other players. That is fine by me. I don't mind the trades. I don't mind those trades.
He also it was a personal thing with Hopkins. It wasn't just – there were some issues going on. And, where did O'Brien come from, Rudy? What coaching tree did he come from? It's very simple here. He's from the New England tree of schooling, right? And Belichick's the same way.
Yeah, we have yet to see. I mean, it's the same thing in the NBA when you've got everybody saying, "Oh, they come from the Greg Popovich coaching tree." Okay, but when have we seen success from these coaches outside of under their mentor, Belichick or Pop?
I mean,
you don't see success for some reason. Is it just a New England thing? Is it just a Spurs thing? I don't know.
They try to replicate it. It's hard to replicate these things in other stops. I mean, you look at Romeo Crennel. He's been a defensive coordinator for a long time. I still think he's with the Texans though, as an assistant, not an actual coordinator anymore. But you look at him. You look at Josh McDaniels. Right, he went to Denver. Didn't really work out very well. He gets fired there for doing some sneaky scoundrel things that Belichick has done. Just his other coaches just haven't seemed to do very well. Now we have Joe Judge now, right?
Yeah, we do.
Special teams coordinator with the Giants. And Rudy, a few days ago, he actually went on a tantrum, cursed everyone out because they just wasn't feeling it in practice. So they try to establish that culture, Rudy. But what did Tim Duncan? What did Bill Belichick and Greg Popovich have? Right, they had that leader who went in with the same demeanor all the time. Tom Brady and Tim Duncan, which are actually very similar in certain ways. So it's hard to replicate.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Leadership qualities, yeah. But when we're talking Tom's a fiery SOB. Where Tim,
I think Tim was, and maybe not as as vocal? Fiery as Tom. I think he was vocal in certain spots. And also Tim was, from my early years watching the Spurs, I never knew this until probably the mid 2000s, but Tim was pretty funny and kind of, doing jokes. I mean, Tim went paintball with Steven Jackson a lot of times. And what you think Tim Duncan, you don't think paintball already.
Yeah, no, not all the time. Not all the time. But yeah, the thing that we were going towards is, it's just that Bill O'Brien thing. I mean, Texan fans are really fed up with it. They're not interested in this team as much as they usually are because they feel Bill O'Brien is screwing this team and this city over. And I kind of agree. I mean, he really is. I understand the trade of Hopkins, and you got a running back in return. You were able to sign some guys, for Brandon Cooks and the Randall Cobb. Yes,
Which, by the way, Randall Cobb didn't even barely play. I think
know
he came towards the end of that game.
I still don't get how I don't get or I don't see what Bill's trying to do here. You've got three good receivers. I mean, they're not great. Well, we're going to say they're three good receivers. Will Fuller had a good game. I think he had 112 yards receiving.
Yeah, Will looked he looks really good out there. And if he stays healthy the entire season, Will Fuller is going to get 1,000 yards. The targets will be there for him. He just needs to stay healthy.
Yeah, the health thing is huge. And I mean, again, it's kind of like, Will Fuller could step up. And I mean, it's possible he does. We don't know quite yet. It's still really early in the season. There's only one game. But Bill's got to work something out here. I think probably after week 2, I have a feeling they're going to make a signing somewhere. Not really sure who it might be, but we're going to see some week 2 signings coming up here. Guys like maybe like a Earl Thomas and stuff like that who haven't been signed yet. I think their time's coming up here pretty quick after the first week, maybe after the second week. It's all about contracts, man. If you sign a player before the season starts, you have to guarantee that money. If you sign them after week 2 or during week 2, or I think it's after week 2, you don't have to guarantee that money. You could have them till week 8, cut them, and you don't owe them anything. So that's kind of a little insider that I found out this past week, from one of the insiders in football.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I've heard of that before. I think Earl Thomas could be I'm surprised Dallas has done
a locker room thing. Talking to people, man, they love Earl, but they say when he gets in that locker room, it's going to ruin everything that Dallas is working towards.
And I'm fine with that.
You would be fine with it because of this weekend, but it doesn't do you any good after this weekend.
No, but watching the Cowboys' demise from afar, Rudy, it kind of puts a smile on your face.
I think everybody likes that. Everybody likes that kind of thing. So definitely, we're going to get into some picks here. We're going to preview just about every game. In fact, probably every single game, give you a quick pick on who we think is going to win. You can follow me at Twitter. It's at Sweep the League. Follow Coach Gio on Twitter. It's at Coach Gio. Add the extra O at the end. And if you want to follow Chris Galler, the man behind the glass, it's at official Mr. 300. Those are our Twitter handles. We release the shows every single Sunday. 9 o'clock in the morning, we release the Fantasy Countdown. At 11 o'clock, we release the 4th and 40, which is our normal football show. Quick reminder, guys.
Tomorrow, Rudy's a big day. You got a
sports time. We've
got a special guest.
We got a special guest, Joy Taylor of Colin Cowherd, co-host Colin Cowherd, The Herd. She will be on the Sports Dime for a couple of segments there.
I wish I would have had a front row seat of that, Rudy.
Yeah, and in talking to Joy, because we talked to her a little bit, she's really cool, and looking forward to that definitely tomorrow. Actually today. I'm sorry, today on the Sports Dime, Joy Taylor joining myself and Carolina Teague for chatting a little bit, but. This is 4th and 40. When we get back, it's pick'em time. It's time to get these games rolling. Who are we picking? You'll find out when we come back on 4th and 40. Rudy Campos Jr. and Coach Gio. We will be right back. Hey, are you looking for that local flavor, that local burger flavor? Look no further than Burger Boy. Oh, the wonders that is Burger Boy. Are you a working man? Of course you're a working man. Do you like working overtime? Not all of us do, but when it comes to Burger Boy, they have both the working man special and the overtime special. For you working men out there, that's a double Burger Boy, large fries, large drink, and for those of you working overtime, add that extra meat. We're talking triple Burger Boy, large fries, large drink. Yes, Burger Boy, the wonder that is San Antonio. 4th and 40. We always go for it on 4th and 40 because you have nothing to lose. just like us, right here on the NFL Pick'ems. Week 1 already started. I didn't get your pick for week 1, but I'm pretty sure we both had Kansas City winning, so we're just gonna wash that.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer for me, Rudy.
Yeah, you don't pick against Kansas City until you absolutely have to. So pretty much we're probably going to be picking them the entire time. First game, we're going down to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in hot Atlanta, the hot garbage team that I'm a fan of.
Atlanta.
We're starting with Seattle going to Atlanta. This is a game, it's kind of a game where you want to go. It's a toss-up. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a 2 or 3 point favor for Seattle on this game.
I think it's a 1.5 now.
Now it's 1.5. It's basically a pick-em is what it is. You've got explosive offense. You've got Russell Wilson. You've got DK Metcalf, Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett on one side, Matt Ryan, garbage, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones. Now you've got the addition of 2 guys, one being Hayden Hurst, who replaces their now gone Austin Hooper. And you've got one Todd Gurley, who you are very familiar with. I
am, Rudy. Very familiar.
I got in-depth conversation, not in-depth conversation, but I got in-depth thought with something here. I think Todd Gurley is that wild card. If he has a 75% of what he can normally do, I think Atlanta takes that next step and becomes relevant again after 2 7-9 seasons.
Oh, yeah, Rudy. I mean, listen, when healthy, and it's been when, Todd Gurley is a very effective runner. They have a guy back there, no disrespect to Devontae Freeman, but Freeman just wasn't what he used to be. And they let Tevin Coleman go last year. Todd Gurley has the opportunity here to kind of show some people. And I know Todd, listen, I saw him play at Georgia, and then he went to my favorite team in the NFL. I've seen him play throughout the years. He's going to have somewhat of a revenge tour. He just feels like he's still that guy. And if he still is, the Falcons are going to get a beast. This game, Rudy, has a shootout written all over it, in my opinion. Seattle's secondary is probably going to be pretty bad this season in certain spots. And Matt Ryan, say what you want to say and disrespect him all the time, Rudy, but the man played pretty well last season. Their defense has been just really hurt by injuries. I'm going to go with the Falcons here, Rudy, at home. I just think with the offense being at home, there won't be no fans. Matt Ryan coming in, and that defense of Seattle, they don't have Clowney. There's a lot of question marks on that defense. I'm going with Seattle here in a shootout.
You just said you took Atlanta.
Sorry, Atlanta in a shootout.
I was going to say, you can't take both teams.
All right, I'm taking Atlanta. I'm taking the Falcons, your boys, Julio Jones, which is in my fantasy league. Let's go, Julio.
I'm going to go ahead and go Atlanta here. I understand.
Oh, what a surprise. It's actually a surprise.
This is game 1 of the fire Dan Quinn trend that's going to be happening.
Come on, be nice.
Dan Quinn goes 1-0. He's at home. Seattle's coming to town. The team that
Hayden Hurst is an interesting player. He's a little bit of an unknown, but as someone who knows Dirk Cutter, and Dirk Cutter's still there, right, as the offensive coordinator? Yeah. He loves tight ends, so Hayden Hurst could have a pretty decent big season.
Yeah, I can see that. This next game, we're going up to Bill Stadium, Orchard Park. New York Jets, 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 going against Buffalo. Really not much of a preview other than I expect Stephon Diggs to have not a monster day, but I expect him and Josh Allen to at least get, a touchdown pass, possibly to, I'm thinking maybe 100 yards for Stephon and a touchdown. Just a little quick, teaser for fantasy there. But in this game itself, there's really no way I can see the Jets coming into Buffalo winning this game. Give me Buffalo for the win. I've got back-to-back home teams winning. What do you got, Gio?
This is actually a tough one for me. The Bills, they're an interesting team, right? Does Allen take that next step? Does he kind of progress? He has now probably a number 1 receiver. The Jets are interesting because no one's talking about them. No one really cares about them, which I completely understand because they're their head coach and just their organization. But I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm taking the Jets. The Bills got almost a touchdown on that line. I'm going with the Jets for the upset. Le'Veon Bell, I think he does something, and maybe I'm just speaking with my heart because he's in one of my leagues. But I'm going with Jets.
Wow.
And I have really no major reasons. I'm just going with the upset.
You're going okay. So we have the upset alert. The second game that we're talking about. Gio,
it's a division game.
It is, but it's the Jets. The Jets. I mean, you're looking at a Buffalo defense that is not going to allow.
I have no reasoning, but I'm just going with my gut. I'm just going to pick the Jets.
Okay, we're not, like I said, this is one of the games we're not going to talk 30 minutes about.
I don't know reasons why. Every reason should be going to the Bills, and that's why I'm picking the Jets.
Let's go over to Ford Field, Detroit. We have the Bears coming down to Detroit playing the Lions. Another game. It's a divisional game. It's a rivalry game. Obviously that division. But when you talk Bears, the biggest concern you've got is two things. Mitch Trubisky is going to be the quarterback. Former UNC Tar Heel. I am definitely face palming my head because he's a former Tar Heel and he's looking this bad. Thank God we have Sam Howell coming up in the ranks. But you've got Trubisky, and then you've got the concerns over David Montgomery. Everything has been pointing that Montgomery's going to play.
Yes.
Now I've had that he's been downgraded a little bit. This whole running back situation, the Bears were known for running backs all the time. Matt Forte, even Jordan Howard. I mean, they've had the running backs. What the hell is Montgomery's problem? Why can't he get going? If we're going with this thing, I'm definitely taking the home team. I'm taking Detroit. I just don't have any confidence in the Bears. Sorry, Carolina.
Yeah, Rudy, the Bears, and I don't think it's necessarily completely a Montgomery issue. I just think the Bears and how they're set up right now, I think it's a quarterback issue with Trubisky. And if Nick Foles can't win the job and Trubisky's there, teams are going to stack the line of scrimmage. Really, there were so many games last season where they're just stacking it, daring the Bears to throw, and teams are stacking them. And Montgomery wasn't great last season. I think he has an opportunity. The offensive line is okay. I think it's just more of a quarterback issue. But nonetheless, I'm going with Detroit here. Now, Galladay is doubtful, Rudy. So for a quick fantasy insight, Marvin Jones can be an outstanding play for this week. The Bears defense don't scare me, at least in the secondary. I'm going with the Detroit Lions here, Rudy. I just think Detroit's just a better team, and they got three backs right now. I think one's hurt and Swift. They got the weapons, and they're going to sling it around this season. I'm going with Detroit. I just think they're a better football team right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We both got Detroit winning this game. Heading over to U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota. Well, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Green Bay going into Minnesota. I'm really not high on Green Bay. I haven't been high on Green Bay in a while. So I want to say that this is that one game where you put upset alert on with Green Bay coming into Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to actually win the game, but for whatever reason, my heart is telling me that Aaron Rodgers has this chip on his shoulder now. I mean, they go out and they draft Jordan Love, and it just seems like Aaron's like, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang type thing. Close looking at this game, I'm going to take Minnesota just because of and it's not even the fans. I mean, just because I think that defense is going to be able to slow Rodgers down. But this is a tough one for me. I'm going to go Minnesota. Dalvin Cook, I think, actually has a really big game for the Vikings. On the other side, Green Bay, it wouldn't shock me to see Devontae Adams have a really big game either. Give me Minnesota, probably in a shootout, because we have seen shootouts between these teams before.
Give me Minnesota as well. Zimmer's really good defensive-minded, and Rodgers seems to have issues with that team. Yeah. And they don't really scare me. Besides Adams and Jones, which Jones had that great year last year, who else? I mean, there's really nothing else in that offense that you could throw, not even a tight end anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
The Vikings, to me, I know they have some unknowns as well, but to me, they're just should be a complete team. I picked them to win the division, Rudy. I just think they have the pieces, and they're a better football team than the Green Bay Packers, who, Rudy, didn't they go 13-3 last year?
I believe so.
But
yeah.
everyone's down on them for being a team that's coming back. They just didn't do much. I'm going Vikings here, and I don't be surprised if the Vikings win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, so looking at this game, because this is one of the games that we can talk a little bit about here before we move on to other games. What I'm looking at for this is, can he be just enough? Because he doesn't have a whole lot more in the tank. Let's be real here. Can he be that much better? And it's sad that we're saying that he needs to be better. I mean, he's been really good pretty much his entire career.
Well, Rudy, he's dropped when it comes to playing, and also, Rudy, he led the league last year, I think, in throwaways. I don't. This team got, to me, extremely lucky. I just don't see that Aaron Rodgers that we used to see with McCarthy, which is interesting because McCarthy got fired 2 years ago, and I just don't see that Aaron footprint on an offense.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, Rudy, when they had Jordy Nelson and Adams was there as well, and their receivers throwing down the field, it's just, I don't see that anymore, and people aren't scared of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they're not. Hey, when we come back, we'll preview the rest of the games for your Sunday NFL pleasure. This is 4th and 40. Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio. We'll be right back. If you'd like to be a sponsor of Sweep the League, 4th and 40, and the Fantasy Countdown, contact me, Rudy Campos Jr. My email is rcamposjr@icloud.com. And welcome back. This is our last segment here on 4th and 40. We're going over the NFL schedule for today. So far, we have previewed Seattle, Atlanta, New York Jets, Buffalo, Bears, Lions, finished up Packers and Vikings. We're going over to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. I laugh at that because the New England era begins where a familiar foe, the Miami Dolphins, who people still kind of laugh at, which I actually don't laugh at them anymore. This is one of my games where I expect Cam Newton to have a decent game in his New England debut, but I'm going to ride the Dolphins on this game. Give me Miami for that.
Oh, going with the Miami Dolphins, going to Foxborough.
It's magic. This team in the offseason made so many moves in the right direction. I'm expecting this team to pull out this upset and going into Foxborough. Give me the Dolphins. Fitzmagic starting. I have that magical feeling in the air.
No, Rudy. Not so fast, my friend. In the words of, sorry, I forgot his name, but anyway, I'm going with the New England Patriots. I've just been feeling Cam this entire offseason, and this offense to me is what I'm really looking forward to. What their offense is going to be. Are they going to take a little bit from Baltimore, right? And maybe a little bit from some of those San Francisco teams that Harbaugh used to coach with Kaepernick. What type of offense are we going to see? More pistol? Are we going to see some option attack? I'm just so interested to see what Josh McDaniels, because this is not an offense that they could do what they did last year. There's no way you're going to sit Cam back there and dink and dunk. I think Bill has something up his sleeve, and I think Cam's going to have a really good day. The Dolphins, I want to pick the Dolphins, Rudy, because I just love that they're just a sexy pick right now. They're a team that's on the rise, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Bill Belichick at home in that nasty weather. Probably it's going to be kind of gloomy in New England, and I think Cam's going to have a good day. But I could definitely see the Dolphins win. I could definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going with them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dolphins on that one. So we're going to go over to FedEx Field. And this game, I don't even want to spend 20 seconds on. Philadelphia at Washington. Give me the Eagles. I understand the Eagles are banged up. I really do. They have a lot of injuries, but even a banged-up Eagles team should beat Washington at this point. The Eagles' defense is still there. I mean, they're going to stop Antonio Gibson, who's starting for Washington. They're going to make it pretty hellish day for Dwayne Haskins. So give me the Eagles. Like I said, I'm in
Rudy,
20 seconds of this.
you know me. I'm always looking for excitement. I'm
Yeah.
going with the Washington football.
We got to stop you. The Washington football,
I'm
the
going with the
WFT.
upset here. The Redskins, Terry McLaurin. You know what? The Eagles got like a million guys that are on IR, it seems like. Give
Yeah.
me the Redskins to shock the world on Sunday. And Terry McLaurin and Gibson. Gibson. I'm going to take the Redskins here, Rudy, as a team with a new coach, right? Everything's new offense coming in. Give me the Redskins to shock the world and beat the Eagles.
Redskins, and we're going to get in
Oh,
trouble.
my God. All right. Can we censor that out? Listen,
it's
the
week
football team, give me them. I think they're going to shock them, Rudy. They got something to prove. Hey.
One of the harder games to pick this week for me is the next one, and we're going to probably shoot through most of these here in a little while because of time constraints. But the Las Vegas Raiders going to Carolina, Bank of America Stadium. This was a tough one for me. I kind of like the Raiders in this game, but you've got Teddy Bridgewater starting at QB. You've got Christian McCaffrey. They're at home. It basically is Raiders flying across the country to play this game. I'm always with the Carolina. I'm always on the team that is at home and the other team has to travel and all that stuff. These two teams are really close. I think when you look at them on paper, I want to say give me Matt Rule and get his first win with Carolina Panthers. So give me Carolina, but I'm not sold on it. This is a kind of a toss-up for me.
Yeah, this is, to me, a tough game, even tougher than what I think I've been hearing. I'm going to go with the Raiders here. I think this is a football team that comes in, you've given Chucky a good amount of time to game plan for this. So give me the Raiders, give me Josh Jacobs, and Rudy. They're going to start two young, very young receivers in Ruggs. And I love Brian Edwards. He's a big body guy. I just think this is going to come down, though, the Raiders defense. How much is the Raiders defense improved, Rudy? Because they were pretty bad last season. Yeah. Carolina is going to be bad defensively as well, but this Raiders defense, I think they're going to be just a little bit better. Give me them. I think Carr's going to have a good day. They're going to sling it around. They're going to run the football a lot. They're going to control the line of scrimmage. Give me the Raiders, but this is going to be close, Rudy. I'll say Raiders win 27-24. I think it's going to kind of be like a little bit of a shootout, but I think defensively there'll be some moments.
Yeah, it'll be a close one. Next, we're going to TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. Colts. I'm just going to say Colts against Jaguars. Just give me the Colts.
I mean,
no reason to get into it.
I love the pick upsets here, but when you've basically traded your entire team, give me the Colts big here. Definitely.
M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Cleveland at Baltimore. Obviously, divisional game. All these games are pretty much divisional games. This is kind of a toughie in a sense that you've, again, got the Cleveland Browns, America's favorite team on paper, going against America's favorite quarterback, or one of them at least, and Lamar Jackson. It's not going to be an easy win for Baltimore, but I'll take Baltimore. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people may think it is. I expect actually a really good day out of Baker Mayfield, even though Baltimore's defense is really good. I mean, it's one of the better defenses. I think Baker is finally – I think he's fitting into that system over in Cleveland now. He's got his weapons. I think he's going to have a pretty good day. It's just not going to get the win. Things will be looking better in Cleveland after this weekend. But give me Baltimore for the win.
Give me the Ravens as well, Rudy. I do think Baker's going to have a good season. I think he's going to have a good game. They got Austin Hooper there from Atlanta. Rudy, they got the talent. They got the receivers. They just signed Kareem Hunt to an extension. Rudy, everything he needs is right there for the taking. This defense is going to improve. This is going to be a close game. I don't think the Ravens blow them out. And Rudy, I think the Browns beat them last season in that early matchup in the beginning of the season. So the Browns are not scared of the Ravens. Don't get it twisted. I'm going to pick the Ravens. I think they'll be able to run the football and just kind of control clock. But Baker Mayfield, this is the year, man. to me, Rudy, this is it. This has to be the season.
Yeah.
And if he does not deliver, not to say he's going to be on the hot seat next season, Rudy, but it's a possibility that potentially Stefanski could be looking elsewhere for a quarterback.
Yeah. So the next few games, with the exception of the Cowboy-Rams game, we're just going to blow right by them. Just give me who you're going to take so we can get some Cowboy-Rams talk here last 2 minutes. Chargers going to the Cincinnati Bengals, Paul Brown Stadium. I like Cincinnati, but give me the Chargers on that one. Who do you got?
I got the Bengals with the upset. Joe Burrow gets the first win.
I can definitely see that. Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. The Tom Brady Tampa Bay show going to New Orleans. Tom's got a magnificent team, but you know what? Just give me New Orleans in this one. I think it's too early to tell how good Tom has it. Taking the Saints, who do you got?
Who dat? Talk about beating them Saints. I'm going with the Saints. I just think continuity and also a young right tackle going up against one of the best defensive ends in the league. Give me the Saints, though. I think the Bucs will be fine. Yeah,
definitely going to Levi Stadium. The Cardinals at the 49ers. This is a game I'm seeing that is going to be a lot closer than people think, but still, give me the 49ers. I think they win by 7. I can easily see, 20-13 game here. Give me the Niners over the Cardinals.
I wish both teams would lose because they're in my division, but I have to choose a winner. 49ers, that defense is starting to get a little depleted because of injuries, but give me Niners.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to skip the Dallas Rams. We're going to come back to it here. Monday night, Pittsburgh at New York, the football giants. Everybody is saying it's Pittsburgh. I am actually going to go with that train and go on the Pittsburgh, but no fear, Giants. Danny Dimes will have a good season. I understand you've got Jason Garrett, who was a failed football head coach, but as a coordinator, he is actually a brilliant mind. So the Giants will be really good this year, I feel, on the offensive side. But for Monday night, give me Pittsburgh.
Give me Pittsburgh as well. They're just a better football team.
Exactly. So we leave MetLife Stadium, head over to Empower Field at Mile High. Tennessee at Denver. Denver's young. I do like Denver, but give me Tennessee. Tennessee's just, to me, they're just a juggernaut, and on both ends of the ball, I just take Tennessee on this one. Give me the Titans to win.
Cortland Sutton might be doubtful for Sunday's game. If he plays, I would love to pick Denver. I think, but with him out potentially, I'm going to go with the Titans here. Could I change my pick, Rudy? Because if Cortland Sutton plays, I really think they'll win this football game.
Okay, if Cortland Sutton plays, you take Denver. If he's out, you take Tennessee. Okay, we'll do that. We got a minute here. Let's go back to Dallas and the Rams. I'm just going to give this to you. SoFi Stadium, open it up. I'll give you about 30 seconds on this, Gio. But for me, I am taking the Los Angeles Rams.
Yes, I'm going with the Rams here, Rudy. The brand new opening of a stadium, Sean McVay. This is going to be a little bit of a different offense coming in. I've been seeing a lot of Jared Goff, a lot of kind of running I've been seeing. His footwork has improved defensively. It is still a 3-4 scheme, but new defensive coordinator coming over from Denver. You're going to see some different stuff. The Rams, people are sleeping on this team. They're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to have a smile on my face, hopefully, by the end of that day.
Those are our picks. This is 4th and 40. Thank you for joining us. Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio. We will see y'all next week. Enjoy the games. We got our picks in. They'll be posted on the website for you guys as well.
And make sure you eat good food.
Always eat good food.